Okay, in today's lesson you're going to be looking at area. So sometimes if we look at a map of an object, so if we see this, we can see the shaded region. We might say that these little grid lines are 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. So we often say then that there's 1 centimeter times 1 centimeter. So I'm saying they represent 1 centimeter squared. So this is an area unit. When you have this power up here, it becomes an area unit. So I'm going to call each of those little squares a centimeter squared, an area unit. So if we go through and we had a look, we could say, all right, there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, and we might say this one and this one makes 5, and then we might say this is 6 and 6. And then we might say we've got 6.5. So we could say that the area here is approximately 6.5 centimeters squared because it's taking up 6 of those boxes. Okay, so that's what they're doing when they're calculating area. And when they say it's 1 centimeter squared, that means the little box is 1 centimeter. If you've got 1 meter squared, it means the area would have been 1 meter by 1 meter. Okay, so let's go. We're going to work out, do some areas of the shape of a rectangle, and we have a formula here, and it says area of a rectangle is length times width. So sometimes we see it just written like that, L times W. So if we look at this shape, this rectangle, this first one, I'm going to call that the length is 4 centimeters and the width is 3 centimeters. Now we should be checking that they're in the same units, and if they're not, you need to make them. So off I go. I'm going to find the area of this rectangle. I'm going to write area equals length times width. Then I'll substitute in my numbers, and I'm going to say 12 centimeters squared because we're measuring an area and in centimeters, so centimeters squared. Now over here, this is what we see. What we call this is a composite shape. It's a couple of regular shapes put together. So if you could divide it in many ways, but I'm going to break it up like this. So what I'm going to say, this is my 1 rectangle and this is 2. So I'm going to say the area is equal to the area of my rectangle number 1 plus the area of my rectangle number 2. Now, if you have a look, I know this is 1 centimeters and I know this is 4 centimeters. And I know this side is 2 centimeters. Now, I need to know what this little bit here is. Now, if the whole way across is 4 centimeters, but this bit is already 1, then I can tell that this must be 3 centimeters. So I'll write that in my little diagram. Okay, so now I'm finding the area of each of these rectangles. Width is length times width, and another rectangle, length times width. So for this example, it'll be 1 times 4 plus 3 times 2. So I get 4 plus 6. So the area ends up being 10 centimeters squared. Okay. So you might be getting a couple of those today. So just take your time, make sure that your units are all measured in the same unit, like centimeters are all centimeters. Okay, so we're also going to look at the formula for area of a triangle. And in summary, the area of a triangle is often written as area equals half base times height. So let's have a look at how they got about it. If you look, if we can see, if we had a rectangle, which we knew was length times width, which would be 3 times 4. But you can see, if we were finding just this triangle, we've got half of it. So that's where they're getting this formula, half base times height. So what we have to be careful with, so I might have called that the base, and that's the height. So this is really a right angle triangle. When you have a triangle written like this, drawn like this becomes the base, and this is the height of it. So we would use the formula for this one. If we were finding the area, it would be 1/2 times 5 times 2.5. Okay, so that's where we're getting it. So when they say the base of the triangle are perpendicular at right angles, that means these right angles here, like that. Otherwise, unless they give you the height written like this, the height of the triangle and the base, we can still use this formula. Later on in years ahead, you'll see there's other formulas for area of a triangle, but at the moment just that. So if we go and just do the area of these couple of examples we've got on the page, so if I was finding the area, I'm going to write the formula, 1/2 base times height, and then which equals, sorry, I'm going to move that. So area equals 1/2 base times height, which is 1/2 times 3 times 2, which ends up equaling 3, and because it's centimeters squared. So there's the area. So if we finished off this one up here, it would be 1/2 times 5 times 2.5. So if you like, you can do them on your calculator, that's no problem, which ends up being 6.25, and this one was centimeters squared also. Okay, this one at the start, area would be 1/2 base times height, area would be 1/2 4 times 3, which equals 6 centimeters squared.